Welcome back to Dollhouse Drama. I'm Mimi, and today I'm going to show you how to transform this really ugly margarine yellow flooring that comes with the kit into something that looks like real wood. And it's super easy. Let's go. I tried sanding it down and then just putting a oil-based stain over the top. It didn't work, it looked terrible. But then I remembered my daughter bought me these and I had to turn them into this. And it was just really cheap MDF. And that's where my inspiration came from. And they're really solid. It doesn't scratch or dent. My grandson has had these in his room for 4 years and they're still great. Now, I don't even have the varnish on top of here, but it's solid. I mean the top coat, and I'll show you how to do it. It's not going anywhere. First of all, we're going to sand all of that yellow stuff off because it's kind of greasy and nothing is going to stick to it. So here we are a few minutes later. It does come off really easily. I used a 150 grit paper and now we're going to get the dust off. The product I'm using is called Retique It Wooden Primer, and it actually contains, I think it's like 60% wood. So when it goes on, it immediately has like a wood kind of look. Allow it to dry thoroughly, and then of course, you guessed it, we're going to sand it. I've got a 220 grit sandpaper and I'm just lightly buffing over just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Then pull out your superhero, the sticky tack cloth, and remove all the dust. Then we repeat the process and put on another layer. Here's a good look at the colour. So the second coat is on, and I gave it another really good sand. I've already done it because I really don't think you need to see me doing that again. I used the tack cloth. So we are going to start off with, I have in here it's just white paint with a whole bunch of water in it. The white I'm using is the same what I'm using on the ceilings and everything. It's a Benjamin Moore Dove White. And we need a mister and a really rough brush like this. These really cheap ones that you can throw away. Randomly put on white paint. I do need some more water in this. It's got too thick. Make sure you don't have any fans running or anything when you're doing this. And just keep scrubbing it in. There's no method to this, just throw it on. If you want a lot of white, add a lot of white. If you don't want a lot of white in there, don't put so much in. Does not have to be perfect. Okay. This is a water-based stain and the colour is barnwood. If you find your paint is drying too quick before you can kind of scrub it around and move it around, then just put a light misting over the top and that will help. Now, this is darker and I'm going in longer strokes. It's just because of the look that I want. If you don't have any water-based stain, then just mix up acrylic paint with water, just like a whitewash, but whatever colours that you need. That will work perfectly. I would definitely recommend you do use the wooden primer at the beginning. That will make a big difference. If you find your stain, or if you're using paint, it doesn't move around too much, just use the mister, lightly mist, and it will just all move around again. Dipping my brush in. All this is doing is just making the finished product look more like wood, because it's going to have different tones in it rather than just one flat colour. Okay, I'm happy with these colours right now, so I'm just going to let it dry. It'll only take a few minutes because it's just such a tiny, tiny amount. That dried, it took about 2 minutes. Now I'm adding some pecan stain. And you can just keep layering it up until you get the colour that you like. So if you want it darker, add more stain. And the good thing about this, every floor is slightly different, but it still looks like wood. Now I'm going to put a thin layer of the pecan all over. That's what we have so far. We'll come back when it's dry. Now, so this is all dry. And I want to finish it off because I really want that kind of oak look with black walnut. This one. Because it's the finishing coat. Well, I've got to put a top coat to protect it. For the final layer of stain, I do use the sponge to pull it on. It just means that I can get it nice and even, and it's very, very thin layers. And I buy these sponges from the Dollar Tree. I get a whole box of them at a time because I go through them so often. And I think I will let that dry for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to put another coat on because I want it a little darker. And what I like about this, it fills in some of the holes, like the little gaps, and not the others, so it looks more like wood, planks of wood, rather than that yellow margarine. All right, we'll come back in 5 minutes. We're near the finish line. So this is all nice and dry. I did very gently sand again, and now we're going to put the top coat on. And this top coat is incredible. I've never used any other top coat when using this method. And we're just going to lightly, no, don't go back and forth over this. It won't yellow, it won't do anything. It's almost, I think they call it, like it's almost like an epoxy, but it's water-based. That's it. Now we're going to wait for that to dry, maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Sand again with your high grit sandpaper. It was over 1000 grit, and then apply a second coat. I put a total of 3 coats on because that way I know it's just going to have a really hard finish. Do a little scratch test. Nothing's going to get through. You can put this on your stairs and walk on it. That's how hard it is. And it's all done. Let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and even share with anybody else that likes tiny things. See you next time.